Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of the Buy Round Interview Show. Today I am joined by good friend, former teammate and Premiership winner with the Dragons all the way back in 2010. Kiwi international one club man, Jason Nightingale.
Thank you very much for having me and that very warm introduction, James.
Mate, you don't have to sound too excited.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, that was very underwhelming.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Now you're a bit overwhelming.
Oh, okay.
I'd just like you to be whelming, please, if that's okay.
Whelming. It's just a tough balance. I think I noticed, I saw your Luke Burgess interview the other day. Well done there. But he noted he was the fourth Burgess and you went through the... And I've had a few other teammates on here. Jeremy told me early days he got on there and I was like, wonder when. Anyway, it was nice for you to slowly weed it into a conversation after all this time. And that's probably why I'm trying to get to a term that's right and hopefully be not too underwhelming for your guests.
Well, yeah, right in the middle. To be honest, Jason, I've been a little bit worried about you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Look, you, first of foremost, we know the difficulty in transitioning out of professional sport. Most people balloon out. But it certainly appears as though you're on some sort of hunger strike at the moment. I know there's a lot of worthy causes out there. Is this actually happening?
There's a lot of worthy causes out there, and probably the thing that you mentioned in there that you've been worrying about me. I save all my worry for you, and hence the reason I'm so stressed. I'm thinking, how's James doing? What's he doing? And I think so much about how you're doing that sometimes I forget to eat.
But I'm the bit of a poster boy for someone that you should worry about, like personality type. You're not. You've just either affordability, cost of living, you can't afford to eat. Just note as well for our listeners who aren't watching via YouTube, you've gone with vertical stripes. Now, is that tactical to make you look a bit fuller? Because vertical stripes, they from a fashionista point of view, they're certainly not slimming, but still, if there's a person that can make vertical stripes look slimming, it is you.
The truth of the matter is, the shirt I've got underneath, you saw me in on the weekend and you noted how slim I was looking. So I was like, shit, I can't wear that shirt again. He's actually going to see how skinny I am. So that comes down to a few things. Obviously, genetics in the other way. I think you either balloon out or you suck in. A few of my teammates got very skinny. I'm Ben Cray, Mark Gasnier turned into a toothpick for a bit, and I'm more aligned to getting skinny. But no, I'm working on that. It's something I'm seeing people about. I'm going to professionals, personal trainers. Just
go
to try and get bigger. No, I've done a bit of cardio. Like I know how much you run. If I ran like you, I'd be looking like Steve Monteghetti. So that's an issue I'm working on with my personal trainer and with my gym to make sure I do more weights and probably the other key ingredient is try and eat more food.
Yeah, calorie surplus as opposed to calorie deficit. I think is what you want to aim for, Jason. So
less stress though. Less stress.
You could have. Maybe just, is it stress make you not want to eat?
No, I walk around a lot when I'm like, and I think I'm getting a lot of incidental exercise when I'm, just walking around, pacing. I do a bit of pacing. That's not good for
that is a sign of stress. Pacer.
Yeah, I'm a pacer.
At least you're not going bald, or maybe you were, and then it came back.
And it came back. It's going again. I've looked at flights to Turkey and places like that as investigation. Yes, I was going bald early in my 20s. It's a real thing. We shouldn't joke about it. But there are solutions in place, including prescribed medicine, including miracle pills, which help with the de-stress, like a placebo effect, and then transplants in the future. They're all on the agenda.
If there's a sponsor out there, maybe you need some of Adam McDougall's. The man shakes.
Pilot.
No, the
Pilot. I know they're not a sponsor at the moment.
Man shaker supposed to get you thin.
No, there's Pilot's a miracle drug. Friends.
Oh, for the hair. Yeah.
Hair stuff.
So there's that sorted. Probably the opposite of man shake. Maybe double man shakes.
You want me to bulk up?
Yes.
Yeah. There's probably something there. Maybe Luke Lewis could help me out with. He hasn't had a problem putting on weight.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So maybe he could have a problem.
On a serious note, there are some rugby league players that have played with, and it is a challenge to be as big as they need to be. Like, was that something throughout your career that was an effort for you to actually be big enough to play? It's mind-boggling for some players and for fans out there to actually understand just how hard it is for certain body types. Certain genetically, some would argue, gifted people to actually put on the size needed to produce what they need, able to produce on a weekly basis.
Yeah, and honestly, it's can be less. It is. You probably do go one way or the other. Either you put on a lot of muscle to be able to compete, or you get fat because you're not doing a lot as much as you were. And I definitely had that through the start of my career, like most outside backs, where you've got to focus hard on putting on weight. But I able to get to from about the age of 24, 25 to a stable, 92, 93 kilos. But it takes a lot of work. We're doing 4 or 5 weight sessions. I trained with you, did weights. You saw how hard I worked to make sure I could keep that weight on. And I do have like a bit of a goal to get back to sort of 90 again as a KPI, because I feel like I can look healthy at 90 kilos, and my wife likes me more.
Yeah. Did you ever face pressure from coaches to get up to a certain weight?
Yeah, early, 18, 19, 20. We'd do extra weights. Remember, I don't know if you were there at the back end where they used to have like Dufty in the extra weights group and that sort of thing. When I was up until about 22, 23, we had extras and extra diets and a bit of pressure, but you sort of work hard enough at it and you can get it solved, as long as you're not, I put on muscle, okay. So I think we've got like times where you go into a season, if you haven't looked after yourself, haven't done weights, I'll turn up at the season at 84, 85 kilos and I've got to get back up to 93. We had Matt Cooper I played with for many years. He used to turn up looking like not very healthy at like low 80s, and he played at 97 kilos. He used to put on 10 kilos of muscle in the off season. So there's players that are like that, and you do have to work hard to keep it on, and then obviously eat a lot or watch what you eat. Yeah,
well, also then in the season, short turnarounds, 5-day turnarounds, excuse me, it can be difficult to squeeze in the weight sessions, especially with body soreness. Was that an issue for you ever as well, where you were just like, I can't, my shot, we all play through the pain barrier. Yeah. I know you were just on the wing, you didn't have to make that many tackles.
Honestly, that's exactly right. So yes, I used to get sore, but there's always ways around it, whether, rehab sort of thing. So doing extra shoulder exercises when something is sore actually keeps the muscle on. Lots of rehab on my legs to make sure my legs stay big even when you are running a lot. I wasn't much for an extra conditioning session, but if it was weights, I'd barely miss an extra weight session or stay with something to do with rehabilitation that actually builds muscle and helps you maintain weight.
Yeah, well, it's nice to talk about a past life, and we'll dive into that magnificent footballing career that you had. But what are you up to now? So you are a man of mystery, person who, if I was to catch up with and then communicate that fact to somebody else that knows you, and they would ask, how is he? What's he up to? I don't know.
Yeah, see?
Another person that has that trait, Corey Payne.
Corey Payne.
Don't know how he's going. I know.
Oh, really? You don't see him enough? So
I see. When I see him, he sort of talks in riddles a little bit, and he can deflect. And when people then go, "Oh, how was Corey?" I don't know.
It's hard to put it in a box and describe it in a paragraph.
Well, I'm not after a paragraph. We've got a couple of hours here, so let's not take up the whole podcast with what you're up to now. But if you could just,
summarize it as but not in a paragraph. Gotcha. Well, Corey Payne, you know what he's up to. I don't know what he does. I just know he works for Amazon. He does lots of different things that you can't explain and he can't explain. So to your point, I see him.
Maybe he just underestimates my ability to
understand, comprehend
what he's actually up to. Like I know he's a bit of a big dog at
Amazon, but honestly, when he tries to explain what it is, it's confusing.
Yeah.
Me, same thing. So I still help out with the Dragons commercially.
So you're not at Amazon?
Not at Amazon. I have bought a few things from Amazon. I think I'm a member. I think you might even subscribe to Prime. I think so. Are you? You wouldn't know.
I'm not Amazon Prime. No, no. I just buy in bulk, get over order, and then it's free anyway. So
well, that's what my wife tells me, that she's on some membership where she gets free delivery, which gets her Prime. Anyway, I don't.
Yeah. Anyway, so you've got to roll. You've got to roll the Dragons.
With the Dragons. Very part time. I just commercial, help out with commercial ambassador. Myself and Jerry just hang around, and that's Lattimore, hang around and game day, and we do a bit of the commercial partnerships, manage some partners and sponsors of the club, and just where I can, I sit on the board of the district and help where I can and help where, get involved.
You spoke very quickly there. Board of the district.
That's a shareholder. So there's two shareholders of St George Illawarra. One is St George District, the other one is Win Corporation. So I sit on the board of the district. We really just oversees the junior reps in the St George area, but it is also a shareholder of St George Illawarra. So that's fun, exciting. I get to learn from a few of my elder friends. We're learning some stuff there. We meet monthly. It's a good way to catch up with friends. But no, not a whole bunch there. And then property management, work with a strata company not far from your office. We have 13 branches around New South Wales called Jameson's. And it's very much a growing business, which is a trajectory and thing I enjoy. And I think property, I've always liked the property industry, being sort of on the periphery. I'm useless with my hands, so I'm never going to be doing any good there, but I do understand and like how it all works. I think it's something tangible, bricks and mortar, something that makes a bit of sense. And the great Australian and even Kiwi dream is to own your own home, and however that looks, it looks different. Lots of people in apartments, and somebody's got to manage those buildings in the strata.
And you own a couple, right?
Yeah, I know. A couple of what? Sorry?
You own a couple of properties.
Yeah, I own this actually. You paid rent. You paid rent for this. I heard there's good lease on it. So no, one or two. That's it. And they're well managed as well. So and then I have a couple of businesses that Elite Athlete Business School have had 10 years, maybe longer.
Sorry, the Elite Athlete Business School.
Yeah, so we do workshops and for athletes around game. We've done something with every professional sport, and we do a lot with Australian Institute of Sport and Swiss workshops. And we is my business partner Rebecca. She does everything, and I helped her start it, and she keeps me abreast of what's going on. And every now and then she helps me. Or she asked me to get involved, and I feel privileged when I get to be involved in whether it be a workshop or some decision that we're making as a business. And it's great to have it's like it's a lot of athletes do a lot of different things because ants in the pants like to pace around, and you can't pace in the same office every day, otherwise people think you've got a problem.
The Elite Athlete Business School, so you provide education models for current athletes, right?
Correct.
Bespoke content with legitimate qualifications to help them in the aftermath of professional sports.
Correct. So the courses are entrepreneurship and business and diploma business, but it's more about the workshop piece, so bespoke content. So if it's a personal development thing, a bit of goal setting, a bit of values piece, we also do that athletes back to business in sort of all the things there is to learn for professional sport, how that can help business and then help develop people. And so Beck writes a lot of that content, and we've got different presenters that present that, but we build it based on what the client, whether it be the NRL or AFL or soccer or the RAS, asked to do. We built a workshop for that, create a session plan and deliver it along with our facilitators, whether they be athletes or professional presenters. And it's been going for I think since 2015, 2014.
Yeah, nice. Cafe still going?
Sold the cafe a year ago. Yeah, 12 months ago. COVID was interesting. We was in the hole in the wall. We moved from the hole in the wall around the corner, and it changed the whole dynamic of the place. But it was something it was a challenge to everyone say, where were you? Where are you? Because I couldn't actually work in it because I'm not very good at hospitality really, but I loved it as a business.
You do make a nice coffee though.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I can make a good coffee, but I can't make a good coffee better than 21-year-old, whereas I can do other things better than, so being able to...
ageist?
Well, what I'm saying is a 21-year-old or a 20-year-old or a 19, 18-year-old, they can do coffee for 10 years. And, 21 started, well, maybe 11, maybe say 5 years. I start at 32 and they're better than me at it. So it's a bit of a you want to spend time doing things that you give value to your business. And I give value to my business in terms of the communication, love being with people, the social side of it and all the back end. But the actual on the machine don't give as much value as a 21-year-old. So, yeah.
It's all right making one, maybe two, and then it's a bit a bit over it.
Well, yeah, it's it's a very streamlined process. I love making coffee. But yeah, 400, the first 10 are as good as the last 300.
I get what you're saying. So, again, in summary, there's a lot of information there. Still difficult to exactly.
I've got 3 kids. I look after them a lot. My wife works with me at this company, Jameson's, and she's like a big executive there. So I have to pick up the kids, drop them off, do their lunches, all that stuff. So fit all that in. So I'm everywhere and nowhere all at the same time.
Well, I'm glad. Actually, I don't know if I'd be so trusting with you with the lunches just because of how you're presenting right now.
Okay, gotcha.
So I can just imagine your poor
they're
kids
skinny.
Get to school and it's like, oh, Dad's packed this.
What are you thinking? Like something
one piece of broccoli, cucumber, carrot, that's it.
Well, I don't know if Taryn abides by the standards and the rules of primary school diets at the moment, but no sugar, no bulking, no kids bulking at the moment. They're not allowed to bulk.
No.
So, I think it's carbs, a bit of carbs, but no sugar in the lunchbox. There's all these things that you probably don't have to even go into your brain.
I do the lunches on occasion. Yeah. I do work a lot of evenings though. I don't mind making them in the morning, but that's the biggest issue I have. You're not allowed to put peanut butter in there.
Yeah.
No nuts. You've got to check all the packages.
About, how do you get
you've got to get these. You got to get these packages. Check them for allergies and nuts. Can't send them anything containing peanuts.
Don't worry. When we send our kids with something that they weren't meant to send, they come back and they give us the feedback and they go,
the kids Dad. Do? Or
the kids do. So, some culture they've got of excellence in terms of the dietary requirements that they're presenting there. And I think it's good for our future generation. But, hopefully they are less skinny when they grow up.
Yeah. If I was, part of your household decision-making process, I would put them on school lunches because I wouldn't trust you.
Fair enough. I'm gonna have to say the same if I was at your household. Tara to be on school lunches, yeah.
Anyway, into rugby league. Firstly, though, born in Paddington, Sydney.
Yeah, around the corner. There's a hospital. Used to be a hospital here. Apparently, there's not anymore.
No, I think there still is.
Is there? Nah, gone. Yeah, you wouldn't know.
Well, there is a hospital around here. There's not, but different
probably
one.
Just don't do birth. Yeah.
Don't do birthing.
Plastic surgery now.
Yeah, fair enough. And then moved to New Zealand at what, 6 months? A baby. Yeah. 6 months as a baby. Back to Australia, and then back to New Zealand, and then back to Australia. Well, can you sort of go into a bit of depth or a bit of reasoning
Yeah.
behind the back and forth nature of your childhood?
Yeah. I grew up a typical rugby league family, housing commission, poor. My parents came from New Zealand to work. They went back to New Zealand because they had babies. My sister was born in Tauranga. We lived in Papamoa, which is in the Bay of Plenty. And yeah, it was out of necessity. They moved over for an opportunity, find some work. They moved back to New Zealand, having the second kid, my sister, in New Zealand. And then we came back and forth. They split up not long after the second time we came back. And then we lived in lots of different houses all around between mum, dad, and then grandparents. We lived the third time we went back, lived in Hamilton, near Hamilton, in Morrinsville with, so in Waikato, with my grandparents. So that was something a lot of people have, where it was more, my mum was not able to look after us. My dad had not been looking after us for a while, so he needed some time to prepare. Took a couple of years to prepare. So in that time, we lived with our grandparents for 10 and 11 and played rugby union in New Zealand. And then we came back to Australia, and my dad had gone and travelled and done all the things he was going to do to prepare himself to take us on. And from 11, when we came back to Australia, he took us on for the rest of our childhood.
Do you consider yourself more Australian or more Kiwi?
More Australian. I've only lived in New Zealand for, we used to travel back a lot.
Yeah.
So even when my parents, we lived with mum or lived with dad, we'd travel back and spend a lot of time in New Zealand. Every school holidays, we'd go back and spend 6 weeks there. So we stayed really close to our cousins and our family in New Zealand. So I was always connected to New Zealand, but I grew up in Sydney for more than the majority of my life, in different parts. So my whole family are Kiwi. So both my mum and my dad, Kiwis, my grandparents, all four New Zealanders, and all my family pretty much. Some of my mum's family moved to Brisbane, but they're all in New Zealand. So it's always a huge part. We don't have any family here. But even my sister moved back to New Zealand. But yeah, I still consider myself a Sydney sider more than anything. Like, I've been here for a long time. I went to school, majority of my time here. All my friends are here. It's just family. All my family's in New Zealand.
Yeah. At what point did rugby league become a part of your life? Because Hamilton, would I be correct in guessing there's not really a
Especially
footprint of league there?
No, Hamilton is now.
Now, yeah.
Back in the 90s, late 90s, it wasn't. But we only did 2 years there. So I actually started rugby league before, when I was living with my mum, started rugby league. We played 2 years to 3 years, and at Renown United, so junior St George club, and then moved to New Zealand for 2 years and played rugby union for 2 years. And you're right, it barely existed in the town. There might have been a few teams in the city, so there's a decent comp there now around Hamilton and around that Waikato area. It's grown a hell of a lot. But yeah, I played rugby union in New Zealand, and everyone played rugby in New Zealand. So I lived there at 10, 11 years old playing rugby union. Loved it, absolutely loved it. Barefoot, country sort of style, lots of friends at school. And yeah, we had a pretty good little primary school team, and went on to play reps in Waikato and in Hamilton, and in Auckland even. We played against Auckland teams. And loved it. Yeah, grew up, the old want to be an All Black, watch the All Blacks.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really felt pretty connected to the game there. But I started in league. I came back to Sydney. When I came back to Sydney, I played both. Completely different experience, isn't it? Well, you wouldn't know. The experience of playing a domestic club rugby union here, compared to in New Zealand. In New Zealand, everyone did it. So it's the blue collar, it's the white collar, it's everyone.
Easier access.
Easier access, like I said, didn't wear boots. I came over here and played league, went straight back to league and union. One was on one way, one was on the other. The style of the game, I was in the backs. Sort of what you see is what you get. Not a lot of ball, I've been involved, whereas in New Zealand it was a different style of game. I was a kid, everyone did it. Here it was mostly private schools, and I wasn't a private school kid. Not that they makes it feel like that, but eventually you feel a bit of that influence. Most of my really close friends played league, and that's the difference. Most of my close friends in New Zealand, almost all of them, played rugby union.
It is interesting that when we look at pathways and how to maximise participation, I came from a non-rugby league background, bit of an outlier, but had rugby league existed in Liverpool, I'd have no qualms in suggesting there would be hundreds, or if not thousands of, excuse me, like top quality rugby league players, but it just doesn't exist there. Great to see the NRL putting in those genuine pathway systems, because I think we miss out on so much talent, and it is a great game. It is exciting, but yeah, your story speaks to that, and even that probably how rugby union, if they're gonna win back some popularity and some ground, they probably need to move away from the private school elitist only pathway system that appears to exist, and with that sort of exclude the working class
majority.
Yeah.
That's it. It's the working class majority. And in New Zealand, the popularity, the game's getting much bigger there. It's not an exclusive game. They do have a bit of, it's the All Blacks. That's the brand that's held that country together on the sporting arena. With a few bits here and there, but even the game over there, rugby league is getting so much bigger. And the NRL, it's credit to the NRL, credit to the Warriors, New Zealand Rugby League, that it's the popularity there is going through the roof as well. And that's not like, that doesn't make me overly happy to say that you go back there and just watch it, the trajectory of rugby league in New Zealand, and potentially the tapering off of rugby union in New Zealand. It's weird for where it's come, but the union's got a lot to address here, obviously.
Yeah. On the Kiwis, arguably their biggest achievement, certainly in recent times, was the 2008 Rugby League World Cup victory. They beat Australia in the final at Suncorp. You were part of that squad. What are your memories from that tournament?
Yeah, I think it was 20 years old, young, and just so good to be part of. Like, it was only early into my first grade career, and to be part of that, something a bit bigger and something very special in a tournament like that. And the fact that we were status, we hadn't had a lot of success. I grew up and, especially had a couple of series in 04, 05 that I was a teenager watching, going, oh, this is cool. And I always cheered for Kiwis. I just made my decision I wanted to play for All Blacks when I was 10, and then and that pivoted to the sport I was playing when I was sort of 15. So watching people in 05 and 04, they did a 3-game series, I think it was, where they were awesome. Stacey Jones, Wiki, and some of those great rivalries they had, even with the English teams back then. I think built the foundation for what the potential was and is in New Zealand, and with the Kiwis and that 08 squad, everything sort of combined with the right recipe, and was just a really well run tour camp, and really professionally run and well coached, and the culture of the people and the leaders of the people. We had a great leadership squad, the older players that were really driving a lot of those standards. It was such a good thing to be part of, and experience to have and learn from early in my career.
Wayne Bennett wasn't the coach, but he was involved in a coaching capacity.
Correct.
What was your initial impression as a 20-year-old with this, nearly 20, sort of 15 years ago now, but already at that point a legend of a coach, one of the best coaches around even then. That's not even taking into consideration what he's gone on to achieve. What was your initial impression?
Initial was probably just didn't know much better, so it's like the way he was running, the way he's getting things to compete the way he was advising Stephen Kearney, I think that's probably the transition. You know, we had Craig Bellamy as a mentor, and Wayne Bennett. They're probably the two biggest mentors on Stephen Kearney's coaching career, and seeing the way that he adapted. And then probably only in hindsight you realise all the things that Wayne was doing. Hindsight being, I understood now, stepping back, remembering things, how influential what he was saying and why he was saying them. You know, like you would have experienced these when he'll come up with something where it'll be a bit of the underdog or make out the more of the underdog. For example, we went to an awards. I don't know if any Kiwi player got an award, and he made sure he made a point of that. Like, do they not rate us? Does this not rate? And that sort of really driving in on that. And honestly, Kiwis have a massive underdog mentality, for better or worse. But driving in on that makes you a bit like, oh, we deserve that. We're better than this, and all those sort of things that was happening behind the scenes. And then, like I said, the leadership. We had a really good crew of older players that were driving a lot of that. And Stephen Kearney was, you know, obviously the head coach, and I think his mentoring and timing of messages was the thing in hindsight. And then I'm just there caught up in the moment. Yeah, he's right. Yeah.
I can just imagine Wayne being like, they don't rate you.
Yeah.
They don't rate you, and that's it. And then you start to question, maybe they don't. And who they are, you'd never actually quantify, and who this person or this group of people are that you want to prove wrong. I don't even know if they exist, but you do. Yeah. Especially when you're young, you're like,
well, that's it. In the time, it just comes across as you being motivated. In hindsight, you go, that was strategic. That was strategic. Yeah. That was thought out. That was well thought out. That was organised. That was staged. Even.
Yeah.
To the point where you're like, I'm a patsy in this. It was all part of the play, all part of the act. So, and that's the stuff that is genius. It is the genius of the orchestra. You know, there's that famous story of when he did the tip sheets and all that sort of stuff. He told us those sort of stories, and he's the master of master motivator. But what does that come back to? And a bit of manipulation in there that makes you motivate, and that's the reality, and that's the storytelling, and that's what's the that art imitating sport and sport imitating art. In that sense, it's just it is a bit of theatre. But it does get you going. Yeah. And then at the time you're just going, and you're like, and then you look back and go, oh, that's why I was going, because I said the right thing and made me feel a certain way. That emotion came out and made me back myself or question or figure out why I'm not working harder or seize an opportunity, or it's just all those things that keep you a bit more present towards what you are. And then also, he's also very good at winding you up at the right time and allowing people to wind down, breaks, good times, when shut off, boys at the back of the bus, that sort of thing. So all those things were such a good insight to get early. You'd also have some conversations about the Dragons. He was, obviously coming to us at that time, so I got a little bit of extra insight when he was trying to pick my brain on some things that I had no idea about, but it was all good.
Oh, he was...
I like just asking me, what's this like? What's that like? What do you think the club needs? Where's it going now? And to be fair, we were in a pretty good position when he took over. We had Nathan Brown, and we bounced back from those good times in 05, 06 where they had really great squads to, you talk about a rebuild. We had one down year, 07, back up in the finals in 08. We got knocked out. We got flogged by Manly, and who went on to win the comp. But it was a 1 year bounce back. We had one down year in 07. Back up 08, and he comes back into that. So I think he was just asking me, sort of preparing, I suppose.
Oh, yes, because he was taking over in 09, wasn't he? Yeah, of course.
So it was off-season.
It's so interesting hearing you talk about Wayne Bennett, because there's more to coaches than X's and O's, and there needs to be. And that's, I would say, where Wayne does most of his work. It's not in the X's and O's, the game plans, the systems, the structure. It's in the psychology of the individual. But before we get into that, we've spoken about the Kiwis World Cup win in 08, but what's the highlight for you in terms of your international career?
Yeah, I think that 08 gave the whole country and the whole organisation, to be fair, New Zealand Rugby League, the belief that we can do it and it can happen. then they built on that. We had a good CEO at the time who worked with the NRL a bit, and I think he was CEO of the Warriors for a bit after that, that really galvanised the organisation, especially off the back of that. It built. So 2010, we won the Four Nations as well. Same year we won the grand final. That was a pretty good few months. And then we had a really golden patch. So like I said, Kearney mentored originally by Bellyache, and he had a very meticulous preparation where, as a winger, I didn't watch a lot of video. I did on stuff that was relevant, but there was so much that wasn't relevant, and used to go through 1 to 17. You had coaches like that, maybe Des or something, where 1 to 17, you look at views and clips of everything.
The clips of all
1 to 17. And it's like not really relevant, like for me, for you maybe, because they're in the middle. But we'd have that, we'd overload. I'm thinking about, and that's the underdog thing of the Kiwis. You're thinking about the other team. You're thinking about the other team too much. Went from that where meticulous preparation, organised, knowing, Greg Bird's going to do a left foot step. And, that, like, yes, it's important. But I think once you transition to a bit more of the what can we do to prepare ourselves best, success started to come a bit more long-term and a bit more consistently. And changing that towards the point where we were getting to the point and feeling dominant, because we didn't actually take as much, and Wayne's big on that as well, take as much notice of our competition and focusing on ourselves. And that was a really good to see from a coach, from Stephen Kearney, from the Bellamy structure of meticulous preparation. Kearney's always big on meticulous preparation, but that inward focus. And I think that came to sustained success in, I think it was 14-15. We won 3 games in a row against the Aussies. We won a Four Nations. I think we beat you in the semi, and we won a final against Australia in Wellington. I think we beat you in... Did we play in a final? No, Australia only beat in semis. And then, so we had a 2 or 3 year period, 14-15, where we were really comfortable in our own skin and the squad and the same sort of people, and also brought it back to internally focused, and seeing that change and how that helped our Kiwis team build sustained success. It was such an awesome period, and everyone that was involved in that, sort of preparation of that. Everything was well organised. Everything was en route. We had we'd have a tour, and you'd have every downtime planned, and we'd have, because Kiwis used to, I don't know if the same thing, drinking bans. You do that much?
At different stages,
yeah.
Yes.
We used to do them all the time, and it was like,
doesn't work.
Not on tour. It doesn't work on tour. It works at home, and you got your creature comforts. It doesn't work on tour. No. And we tried to pull a few of those in England.
People just rebelled.
Well, we did, and we all just rebelled, and it didn't work. So we did ran them differently, where 10 days on 7-7-7, and almost every weekend we'd be out.
Yeah.
You've worked hard, now go enjoy yourself. You're away from home. You don't have creature comforts. So when we adopted that, a lot more openness. So we were doing drinking.
No one's
bans.
hiding.
We were doing drinking bans, and we're all hiding. And then we had the bit more. Here's the measured accountability. Yes, can you do that? Everyone puts their hand up and says, yes, we can do that. I remember once, 2009, I was over in overseas, and I think I was like, maybe going to play a few games, maybe not going to play many, and they tossed up the old drinking ban at the start. I knew I wasn't going to play many games, so they're like, everyone okay to go 5 weeks without a drink? And I said, oh, not really. Everyone looks at me like, oh my God, can you believe this guy who's barely not going to get started in our teams put his hand up and say, I don't think it's a good thing. Anyway, we're in London. That was probably week 1 of the tour, probably day 1. We're in the lobby at 10 o'clock and everyone's going out, going to a club. And it's like the day of, why didn't we all just put a hand up and say, don't think it's a good idea.
Treat us like adults, treat us like men.
Yeah. Anyway, day one we cracked it, and we cracked it whole tour, and there was always this, it's better to, what you're working towards is the success is a reward. And we really got that mix right, 14 and 15, and had a lot of success off the back of it.
There's plenty we could get into there. But it's great to see the Kiwis come back recently as well after the couple of down years when there was the deflection from some big name players. But they're certainly back on the map now. Obviously, recently beat Australia very comfortably in that final, which I suppose for lovers of international rugby league, that's what you want. You want plenty of. You want healthy competition. You want not it to just be a one-horse race, which it has been it can certainly appear to be that way. On to Dragons. So you said there wasn't much of a need for a rebuild. Dragons were in a very comfortable position. Wayne Bennett comes in 2009. What was the difference? What was the polish? What was this magic dust that Wayne appears to have?
I think he knew what gaps he needed to fill, and we had those gaps. He found out what those gaps were in terms of personnel, players.
So he brings in Boyd.
Yeah, brings in Boyd.
Jeremy Smith,
Nathan Feen. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few others that made a really... Michael Wayman.
Yeah.
Huge contribution.
Was Bo Scott already there?
Bo Scott maybe was just there or did bring him in. I think he was maybe just there. And these guys were specific... And Never Costigan.
Yeah.
These guys were specifically targeted to fill a gap and a spot of an identified weakness, essentially. That and his people, and I think that's where
his team.
Yeah. You talk about
Jeremy Hickman.
You talk about coaching staff.
Yeah.
You're talking about leaders. Leaders have good people and attract good people, and they know what their recipe is. They're confident in that, so they bring their ingredients with them. And part of his team is that. And I think Darius was probably part of that. He'd been part of Darius' success and more than happy to come and follow. And that's what you find with Wayne. Probably less so lately that he's been sort of people. So influenced on their life that they'll just make sacrifices to go where he's going. But certainly Darius was like that. Watch his career. But there was even Jeremy Smith went to Newcastle with him. Bo Scott went to Newcastle with him. That influence he has, you want to follow, and that's what a good leader is as well. So all those ingredients came, and the polish was the extra people and the staff around it, and then just the whole and you know what the amount of control that at our club gave him. He set expectations with Peter Doust and everyone pretty early.
So he comes in as almost a dictator. There's no general manager of football. There's no retention recruitment committee. It's I'm calling the plays. I say we're doing this. This is the direction we're going, and you all just jump on board, or don't even ask. And there's no questioning of the decisions. It's I'm in authority. I've got the authority to make the call.
Peter Doust will always ask a question, but I think he agreed and trusted, and I think that's he came with that. Trust me, and I'll deliver. And to your point, general manager of football, they brought in a Paul Massey who was there to look after the players, like more of an extension of welfare than a general manager of football. So, and then, that and Peter Doust were, so Wayne and Peter Doust would talk as the I suppose Peter was sort of the general manager of football, and Wayne would tell him what he needed, and Peter would find a way to get it done and work. They'd work with each other. But I think he managed a lot of that, gave the confidence and delivered everything he said he would deliver. And I think that's probably where he would have turned up, said, this is what I will give you, this is what you will get. If you do X, Y, Z for me, we did X, Y, Z, as in the club. That really elevated our club from a professional standpoint, back end, and our club culture really thrived off the back of it.
Yeah, it builds trust if you make promises on what you deliver. That I think certainly from people within the C-suite or the board would go, okay, with us, maybe this person's on to something here. I guess one of the difficulties from having played at the Dragons is how they are split geographically, but also how the players can be split geographically, all the way down to Shell Harbour, if not perhaps even further, up to sort of Brighton Les Sands maybe.
A few randoms that live in the city sometimes as well.
Yeah. How was Wayne strict on that? And did he change? That was the training in Sydney and the gong. That's always been a point of conjecture. And even the whole the conversations with Peter Dowse, it's been, the story out there of you stay in Sydney, you don't call me, I'll call you.
Well, I'm part of it. Whether it was that black and white, I think he would have had a lot of conversations. Like I said, Peter's always been a pretty staunch leader of the club as well through those times. So he would have asked a lot of questions, but then also gave the trust and gave that back, and it was delivered on. If there was anything that wasn't, he would have been checking as any good chief executive would. But we moved every training down to Wollongong. We were doing 2 and 2. I was living in Bondi at the time, and it was a dream. And then
you'd gone from previous two in Wollongong,
Cogra,
2 in Sydney,
2 in Cogra, 2 in Wollongong.
Sorry, 2 in.
So we moved it all down to Wollongong, and it was football and commercial, and that's the way it is. It still is now, and probably the way it was. I don't know. I wasn't probably eyes wide open enough as a kid to see any of the back end or the business, or you just focus on footy, and that's probably part of it. That's when you're doing the right thing, when you can just be in your own little bubble. And we were. So it was split like that. It was all pretty professionally done. We trained hard. We instilled a great culture, good group of people, and he knows how to get you self-motivated, understand people are motivated by what's best for them, and here's what I think is best for you, and you can be the decision if you think it is, and then you build the belief. So he'll tell you something, or the trainers tell you something, or dietitians, whoever it is that's involved, and you get the results. Obviously, you're gonna believe in it, and then follow it, and then it becomes self-fulfilling.
Yes. So 2009, minor premiers.
Mm-hmm.
It becoming self-fulfilling. We're going to deliver, and then bang, out the back door. Did that hit the belief system? Or was there a belief that we can go?
It was a bit too easy at that point. It was like that we've got the secret sauce, and look at us, we're minor premiers. So it was a bit.
No one can beat.
Too quick, man. Like, it happened too quick. We were built from a decent base. Like I said, I think that's probably the cornerstone. In 2008, Nathan Brown had a good squad built, the fundamentals of it, and a good bunch of people working towards it, and also the other ingredient of no success. So the hunger, like me, I'm skinny at the moment. I'm hungry. I need to eat something. That's the same. We'd had a lot of almost. So that from our leadership, like Benny Cray and Dean Young and Ben Hornby, these guys have been around the club for a long time that hadn't tasted success. So they were very, very hungry. So they're buying. We could have, you could have come and sold us anything, and we would have taken it. So that, and then it happened so quick, passed us by, and we dropped the ball on it. We were probably not as hardened as we need to be, and it was coming too easy. And it's like anything that does come too easy, it's hard to appreciate. And I think we had a few key moments in those finals, even the preparation. Yes, we can say we were ripped off by the old system where if you lose,
the McIntyre, yeah.
But you got to be better than that, don't you?
So how did that work?
So we lost to Jared Haynes, Eels.
So it was first the 8th?
Yep.
Yeah.
We lost to him.
So you've got to play week 2?
Week 2 was away against Brisbane in Brisbane. Yeah.
Even though you were first?
Yeah.
So you were
we were the highest
place loser.
And we got
you had to play the team that the
privilege of playing Darren Lockyer's last game.
The lowest placed winner remains to the top. The highest 2 teams ranked on the ladder would have the week off
if they won. Yes, after the first week.
The 2 highest ranked winners. So there's 4 games. 2 highest ranked winners have the week off. You were not one of those 2 teams.
No.
The Eels wouldn't have had the week off, obviously.
No. The Storm won the comp.
But then you're one of the. So you need to play
one of the winners from the
one
week
of the
before.
winners from the week before, the second highest ranked winner, which happened to be the Brisbane Broncos.
in Brisbane.
And obviously all the history with Wayne at the Broncos.
Yeah.
Jesus, I can only imagine what that was like.
Yeah, so and they had a good team as well.
Yeah.
I can't imagine they were happy to finish where they finished. And Israel Folau was there. I think I said there was one of Lockyer's. Yeah, well, no, it was 09, so I think he finished in 11. But yeah, they were up and we're in Suncorp and it was just we should have been ready and we but we weren't. Yes, the system was unfair, but we still lost to the team that came 8th. Only a week earlier and that dented our confidence more than it should have. And then so that's the trust in yourself that gets built over time.
I prefer that old system, by the way.
Do you?
I think it
Cost us in 9 and 11, so I hate it.
Yeah, I think for the overall competition, it should be. I think the current system is easier if you finish in the bottom half of the 8 and harder if you finish in the top half of the 8. And I think it should be as easy as possible if you finish first and even more difficult if you finished 8th.
Well, we finished in top, and then we ended up playing Brisbane in Brisbane in 9 and 11, and we went up to it. So,
anyway,
I disagree.
We digress. Coming into 2010, was Wayne harder on you guys in terms of we need to get our shit together and get that hard nose, that hard edge to us to get you know what it takes to get there, and you know what you need to do when that moment arrives. And obviously we need the injury gods to look after us again and the stars align, but it certainly looked like that was going. But that bit of hard nosed edged about the Dragons.
I think that bit of hard nosed edged, another year of pre-season under it, back up to the standard. Wayne's message was, you don't have to change much, anything. Like really, I think that's the piece where you can go, throw all the toys out of the cot, didn't work. You're never going to do that, because how do you build trust and belief if you're changing things all the time? So the message after that game and throughout that preseason was, you don't have to change anything. We're still doing these boring 1.2 kilometre shuttles. We're still doing this boring stuff. We're still going through the motions, going through the systems, building that platform. So you can't question whether we did the wrong thing or whether we are doing the wrong thing. That builds the belief, and that's just as important as what you're doing is how the buy-in is and how much everyone else believes in what it is. So we didn't change barely anything. We got a couple of extra players and whatever, but none that were the reason why we won the comp in 2010. So that was just along with the story, consistency, not needing to change anything, like you said, the injury gods and stars needing to align, and we built really confidently into that season, and we're even more hungry.
An amazing victory against the West Tigers of all teams to get to the grand final, 13-12, arguably more nerve-wracking than the grand final. Anything like stand out from that day or the game earlier? Because sometimes when you speak to people about winning the year they win the grand final, it's not necessarily the big dance that they focus on as like the big moment. Am I right in thinking after the Tigers game it was something that the sort of penny dropped, you knew you'd won then? Or
yeah, I think the Tigers was massive for us. I think that was the hurdle that they'd all fallen down at before, as in everyone that was involved in 05, and I think it was the Tigers in 05 as well. They fell down at that hurdle, star-studded in a win, that sort of thing. And to be honest, the Tigers played awesome. They're up at half time and they were playing so well. We weren't playing, or we were playing okay. Actually, we were playing pretty good. But yeah, it was just definitely just such a huge game. They'd had a really good season. They were ready for us. They played unbelievable. I think they could play better, and that was probably the message half time as well. Wayne was like, "Oh, they can't play any better. They're at capacity. Show them what you've got and go with them, and you'll grind them out." And it was that sort of game. It was such a grinding game where effort from both teams. Like you got to look at what they did there as although they fell short, what they gave to that game from 1 to 17 and what we gave that game 1 to 17 is what one of the hardest games I've been involved in, and it was only a couple of moments that sort of was the difference between winning and losing, and our second half was just very, very tough, and our polish was just a bit better than theirs, and I think that was the difference between winning and losing. There was a couple of big plays, and Sowie slotting a field goal, and we owned the second half despite the fact we only won by a point.
Yeah, battered, bruised, and knackered, exhausted. What was the week like building up to the grand final? A new challenge for a lot of you. Not many had been to that stage before.
Yeah, like you said, I think that relief that we got to get in the grand final, okay, now we've gone further than we've ever been as a group, whether that you played in 04 and 05 or you're just new to this space. I think we had Wayne's good at making sure you enjoy the moments, and we did. We enjoyed the moment. We rinsed and repeat. We went to our same hotel, the no longer there Swiss Hotel in Bondi Beach in Roosters Heartland, and hung out there for a week. We did another camp. Yeah.
You were in Bondi?
Swiss Grand, yeah, Bondi.
And playing the Roosters in the grand final, I knew you guys are just knocking around in Bondi.
There's more English people than Roosters fans in Bondi, as you know. That's
interesting.
Multicultural, yeah. It's
how long were you in camp for?
We did a week leading into the Tigers game, and then a week leading into
away from home.
Mm-hmm. Oh, like I said, 5 days, yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
In City. Why do you think? Because he obviously did that with the Broncos and did that every time before. He's a bit of despite Mr. Cool, he's also very much a creature of habit.
Superstition.
Yeah, superstition. So he's done that before and it's worked for him. So that was great. Like, because Bondi, you can be, no one cares about rugby league there, to be honest. Everyone's there for a break or a holiday or chill, or they go for the beach. It's not the place that's. It's not Cogra. It's not, it's not Wollongong where, you sort of.
Yeah, everyone would have been asking, how are you feeling? Oh, what are you doing here for? You're not getting ready for the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like people barely recognising us and there was a few, obviously it's Roosters Heartland, but it's a bit of a.
Yeah.
Bit of a in your face. But it's not like that. So it was such a good, relaxed vibe. We just train. Go out to wherever we train. We trained at Redfern Oval once. We trained at Cogra once, which was an awesome day. And then we just get back, and it was like we're on a little mini holiday with ourselves again, where we could just chill out and relax.
I like that. Take your mind away from it.
Yeah, it's disconnecting.
Despite being with one another, you would be all disconnected from the
job.
game.
Yeah, job at hand
or being at home just stewing over it. Yeah. I like that. The grand final itself, memories from that day?
Just
obviously got a couple of tries, weren't bad.
I remember feeling like honestly, I think I made a couple of errors as well early, and I was like just so full of energy. I felt like I could run forever. Like I was as prepared for a moment as you could ever be, but I was just so overwhelmed with energy, not nerves, just energy. I felt like I could run forever, and once we settled and I settled, we started playing like that. It wasn't until the second half we actually got comfortable and got in a rhythm, and that was the sort of the halftime message was just play Dragons footy. We're in the same position we're in. We knew we were going to continue. If we continued to apply pressure, which wasn't what we were doing, we were right away from it. And I never felt momentum like that in a game as I did after we scored in the first half. So yeah, every carry felt amazing, and I'm sure you could see that in the others. I'm one that always gets energy off others, and you can see that from around my teammates, and the momentum was clear. So after I think I scored my second try, I was pretty happy, and then we kept. Try, and not many times in your life can you, on a footy field, once you become professional, it takes a little bit of the enjoyment out, because winning is so, and you've got those games where you're going to win by heaps, and that's fine. And that's when you can, how good's this? When you're in front by heaps, you can't get beat. The fear of losing's gone.
Yeah.
No fear of losing, and in the biggest game of our lives, being able to enjoy that last 15 minutes. I found a time to, like, let's just get around. I was with Sowie, he's always pumped on emotion, and we had Bo Scott, who's we're on, and Gaz actually was like focus, and they were like, come on mate, me and Sowie were like, 15 minutes ago we've won the grand final, let's just, and we can still play some energy, but to be able to find some moments of gratitude to just enjoy it, and that's when you're a kid, enjoying it, win, lose or draw. Have you ever enjoyed a loss in your life?
No.
Yeah, so the fear of losing gone, and in the biggest stage to be able to enjoy it on the field was just awesome, and something that I was walking around taking little snapshots, and I still, even though it's 13, 14 years ago now, can get myself back there when I need to, whether I'm if I'm in the gym and feeling like I'm too skinny, or there's other things going on, I can find that moment and take that with me, even though it was 14 years ago. I've rehashed it enough times.
The celebrations after that game, you've got plenty of ground to cover as well with the representation of the club in Wollongong, Cogra.
Yeah.
How was that? How did you? How was the balance there?
The geographical nightmare. Believe it or not, we weren't in a safe state to drive between places.
No, but you'd assume the club would provide a method of transportation.
It was pretty funny. So they cut us off at Cogra, and after, I think I had an after party at my house in Blakehurst. A few people broke away to there, and
they cut you off in Cogra at the Leagues Club.
Yeah, no, at the ground they had cases, and then all of a sudden the cases dried up. I'm like,
so you went back to the ground,
and that was the share.
Not to the Leagues Club.
No, we went back to the ground, and the ground was full of Dragons supporters. So that was shared moment with everyone. It was awesome. So the ground was packed. There was 15,000 people in the stadium. It was just awesome, and we was just like, we'd go out on the stage, and everyone was around, and then we just partied up in there, and then we went. They tried to, okay, guys, you've got a big day. You've got to go to Wollongong tomorrow. Righto. Anyway, so a few people were prepared. One, Mark Gasnier, was definitely prepared. A couple of hit flasks and stuff because he saw it coming. I don't know if Dousty tipped him up or what, but he had extras. So they got us up in the morning, like, okay, let's go. We're going to do it. This is a funny thing. So they go, double-decker bus, roof off. 8 in the morning, I reckon. I think it would have been Monday morning. Yeah, that's right. Sunday game, Monday morning, long weekend. We're going to drive around the streets of Cogra in an open-air bus at 8 a.m. on a Monday. There's not a person in the street. I hadn't told anyone. And we're just driving around Cogra, and we're like, mate, with a hangover, going, can we at least have some beers while we do this? So we did that and did a parade of Cogra where no one knew about it. No one cared, and we're like, oh, this is a bit awkward. Anyway, by the time we got down to Wollongong, it was probably 9, 10 a.m. and honestly, we drove past Benny Hornby's house, and some of his residents were like hammering him, just like yelling, "Your shit, Hornby!" Like out on the tram. We're like, this is. Anyway, then we got to the Win Entertainment Centre, and it was great. Build back up, and I think we had to sort of manage Gaz because he didn't stop, so we sat him down and did the old weekend at Bernie's for a bit with him, held him up and tried to tape his mouth together, and then and he's like, mate, we just won the grand final, it was the best. And then they let us party. So this is Monday afternoon by the time we got back to the Steelers Club, and we went from the Steelers Club back to, remember King's Cross?
In Sydney?
There's a place in King's Cross.
So hang on, you're in Cogra, all the way down to the Gong, and then it's Steelers, and then you go,
Steelers, then
let's get back to the Cross.
Yeah, went back to
Was
the Cross.
everyone on board at that stage, or there been
no choice? No choice.
Yeah.
So
You're not
part of the programming. The whole club, we went, whole team, players, everyone went to Cross. We had a nightclub, and we went till midnight, I think, and then they took us back to Wollongong. This is back. So we're covering some Ks here, and then we did Mad Monday, which was actually Tuesday at Craig Young's pub in Unanderra, and it was pretty good. And then we kicked on to Steelers Club after that, and then some people went to Wednesday, but I think I called it by then.
deserve to celebrate. We've spoken a lot about that particular time period at the Dragons under Wayne, and rightly so, because it was so successful. You were in the hunt the following year, Wayne's last year there.
That was the one.
Obviously, huge achievement, winning the grand final in 2010. Do you ever look back and go, we should have got one more?
Maybe 11. Like, that was the year. I think it's blamed on the system again. We were pretty hardened then. We had a late season slump, but we probably had the team to do it again and go back to back. And we actually did play well in that game. We got beat by a point, I think it was, to Brisbane in Brisbane again. I think this was Lockie's farewell. I'm pretty sure Jared Beale did us a favour and broke his jaw, but it wasn't enough to stop him from playing. He went and kicked a field goal. Couldn't play the next week against Melbourne, and Melbourne won. I'm pretty sure. I think they touched them up. So yeah, it was that year 11, and that's probably as close as we got. We had a couple of finals appearances, one against you in 15. Were you there in 15, 16 doggies? 16, and then.
No, you played the Dogs in the final round of the regular season.
No, we played you in a final and lost as well. Maybe it was before you got over. 12, 13, was it? The one you're talking about when you guys were going no good and you beat us and you stopped us.
It was my last game at the Dogs before joining the Dragons the following year.
Sucked, yeah. Anyway, we just need to win that.
That was the year that lost for the Dragons, put the Cowboys into the grand final. Into the finals, and then subsequently the grand final.
Yeah. So anyway, you don't need to remind me of that one. No, I think we played finals against them, and then obviously few and far between. Then 18 was the last time we were in the finals. Other than that, I think.
With Wayne, you see the impact he has at numerous clubs. The Dragons, it looked. When he got there in 2009, he was there to put the polish on. Can he have an effect at South Sydney? Because it was sort of not too dissimilar last time he joined South. So a lot of people compared that group with the Dragons of 2009. They got very close. But this time around, do you think he can work his magic again?
Yeah, I think the probably the ingredient that was against them in that was that Penrith, they played a great team and they almost beat them. They won 3 on the trot. So,
they were a goal kick away.
The goal kick away, exactly. So that was a huge thing, and I'm sure pretty close, as close as you can get without winning it. So, but yeah, I think that we do find some sort of, I think, pride in the fact that, and not, no offense to Wayne, but he actually hasn't won one since us.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago, and he's done lots of great things since then. But that makes us feel special, and I'm sure I know we hold a special place in his sort of mind in terms of success and achievement and a group of people, because despite all his success beyond then, he actually hasn't won a comp since 2010. So neither have I. So. But no, I think that's, yes, the polish, it'd be good to see it. Like, I'd love to see him do well. I actually have a soft spot for South with Benny Hornby there and JD and a couple of players that we played with that are still at South Sydney. So I'd love to see him do well towards the end of his career, you reckon? I don't know, maybe. But not more than the Dragons, but no, I think it is that recipe. He does know how to do it. If the rest of the club can work around that and make sure they give the resources, which they got plenty of, and the guidance and the culture of the players as well. That's the big thing, That's can't be discounted against in any great coach or anything. It's the people, the individuals that build the culture of the team that make success. I think you've seen that at good organisations, but also good teams that have come across and have had good leaders. Without that, the best coach obviously, nourishes that leadership and helps with it. But if you don't have those people in the places, then you are missing a thing or two.
Yeah, I think it's a huge job for him to take over.
What do you think? What's your opinion on it?
I think it's a big job. I think it's, we look at Wayne's success, but again, he's someone who you shouldn't underestimate, because I didn't think he'd be able to do what he's done at the Dolphins especially their first year, and now again this year.
Yeah.
So he achieves what people think is almost impossible. With where you look at South Surat, and I think, well, they need somebody like him, but even with him, he's got his work out. For them to go from in May of 2024, 17th on the ladder, one win in the year, and they've made one move next year. Lewis Dodd will come over, and that's the only real change. He's going to have to work some more magic there in the market, bring in some of those people, those leaders, and then look to get the best out of some people that probably aren't playing at their potential at the moment. There's a number of players there at South Sydney that are not quite at their potential, and that they can have a big influence and make a difference. But it's a big job for Wayne. Just on the Dragons, to sort of finish off your time there was a couple of coaches always in Wayne's shadow.
Tough gig. We've seen it.
Very tough gig. A few followed suit. Mary McGregor comes in, and I want to take you to that 2018 season, where I think if the stars had aligned, the odds of success significantly increase.
Yeah, I think there's the true, other than after 2011, probably the time we had the roster, to be honest. Yeah, agreed. I think it was a lost opportunity. We just lost our way towards the end of that season, and then we found it in a big way. Once we got to game time, I think we were all waiting for game time prematurely, as in finals time. But yeah, it was a lost opportunity and a good opportunity, and we had the squad for probably the one time we have in the rest of the career since that. So yeah, I think that is the closest we've gone.
I think we were like 2 points off I think we finished 7th.
Yeah.
From memory, we were only 2 points off.
Yeah.
Top 4.
It was, and we were winning after half the season.
We were smashing the first half of it. We had an awful run. We got back on track, and then the injury gods just went.
We limped in, and then found a leg, and then limped out.
Yeah, well, we lost 3 Adam Reynolds field goals, beat us against South, and we had no Gareth Widdop, who I think was the best 5'8" in the competition that year. No Paul Vaughan, and Paul Vaughan got injured at training, and Tarek Sims got injured in that game against South Sydney, and Luciano Leilua came on. He was a very young Luciano Leilua, and I think they scored all their points down that edge. Again, nothing against Luch, but it happened. To be fair, it was probably a good job we went out at 13-12 against South, because we didn't have much. We'd have been struggling to get a team together.
And it was. And I think that's sort of probably the highlight of Mary's time there, and despite it being only a year before. Is it 19, 20? 20 was his last year?
Yeah.
Started 20. But yeah, it was... we went to finals twice with Mary. I think that's the second time. And we're always competitive, I think, to a point. We didn't have too many. And, whereas 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 haven't been competitive. And that's the reality. I think that's my 2018 was my last year, and not through no correlation of mine retirement have we not been competitive at all, but we haven't been competitive, and that's been the saddest thing about it. We were, like you said, that's probably the one time, 2018. Now we're in 2024 and we haven't really gotten close to the 8.
I'd love to have seen what we could have done had Gaz, Vorney and Tarek all been fit. Like,
Anyway, you sweet with it. You won a comp at your last round, so you just think of that, mate.
No. I mean, it's just one of those things you ponder and wonder about from time to time. You're a one club man. Was that ever in jeopardy?
A couple of times. So South a couple of times. Wayne backflipped on South, I think, early days when he went to Newcastle. Tinkler's Billions got in the way.
Oh, yeah.
So, and you know what? I was playing good footy and had, I was bought in. I was willing to buy. So, you know, the temptation was there. I was still early in my career. And my wife now, my girlfriend then, lived in the city. It made sense for some things, but it was the motivation was to follow Wayne, to be honest. And then the club.
What year was that?
2012. I went to Newcastle in 2012.
So you were going to go?
No, I wasn't. It was
so
if
not to
Wayne,
if he had gone to South.
Never going to Newcastle. Never going to Newcastle. If he went to a Sydney club, I was, and South was a Sydney club he was looking at, then I would have considered it more.
I thought it was the Roosters he was going to. No.
And then, but that was not much. And I think the biggest thing that I was always lucky about is my club was always there. You know, it's like easy to say one club player loyal, but it takes two sides. And I had an offer every time, and even an offer on the other end at times. While it's attractive, lifestyle is a big thing for me. It's still today, and I love living in Sydney, to be honest. We had really interim discussions with Des Hasler one year when you were at the Bulldogs, and the Warriors towards the end, South another time, but it was all that. The biggest thing, I need to get paid a lot more to leave because I valued lifestyle, my friends, the club and everything quite highly. I think lifestyle was big to me. And then after about 5-6 years, the club was a big part of who I was, and I wanted to maintain that. And then I think I signed a 4-year deal from the time that 2012, that I was like, as soon as I signed that 4-year deal, I'm like, I want to play for this club forever. And then it was harder for me to twist my head around something different. And like I said, the lucky side of the other end, I think I obviously earned the other side of the other end is they're always there to offer me a contract for extension.
Yeah, and obviously in that role now, you mentioned it's been a long time since they've played finals. Where are the club at now? What changes have you seen since Coach Flanagan took over?
A lot more of a professional approach, a style, a brand. I think you can see that in the way they play. They're not, not going to set the world on fire this year, I don't think, but they've gone a long way in the right direction. I think that's what we're all looking for, is a trajectory. They're on the right trajectory, and that's what we've been craving for a long time. It hasn't been that. Since 19, it's been downhill, to be honest, on the field. So he's brought a professionalism to it, accountability. I watch them train, the way they train, the way they commit to it, and our club has supported that. That's been a very much open door policy and looking to help and help. I think the first place everyone cares about is football. Let's put some money into it, and we've put some money into it. We still, we're working towards the high performance centre. We still don't have the facilities up there, but this is the NRL is not a game you can play without being high performance elite. There's too many other clubs doing it well that if you don't step up and professionalise your organisation from on the field and off the field, then you're going to get left behind. It's no longer a small business, the NRL, and we're a big business. We have to start acting like it, and that starts with football, and obviously what Shane's brought, and everyone that's been with him, Dean back to our club's a big thing, but I'm not going to go and predict that. I hopefully be competing around the 8. I think that would be a goal they'd be setting to make the 8. But the trajectory is the sort of thing we're looking at, and that's what's happening. You can see things around the place. It's not perfect, but it's on the right path, and the people are starting to feel and believe. And it's such a club with so much history, but we do need to, not it. I speak about it in third person. It's part of me. So we do need to start delivering on that for our fans, for our people, for the people that are coming to our class, people who work in our offices, to make sure that brand gets upheld, is successful, and it starts to win, and then creates a sustainable model for us to have success that some of those clubs have been able to do in the last 5 to 10 years, whether it be Penrith, Brisbane, Dogs. I think you see they're on a good trajectory. You've got clubs that are Roosters that are being able to compete towards the top of the table. Your salary cap, it's a beautiful thing because it is that fluctuation, but we've had way too many years at the bottom end of the cycle, and it does fall back on the way your culture of your organisation and that business is run. So it's on the right trajectory. We're investing a lot of money, and there's a lot of people that care around the place to make sure those improvements happen.
Yeah, I think you've just got to be impressed by the difference Shane Flanagan has made. I think he's surprised a lot of people, but he has the side you see is completely different to previous years. Even the Anzac Day game, the Roosters were on fire that day. I think the Dragons weren't that bad, and I think you're seeing that the gap between the best and the worst shorten, but also it's more frequently up in and around the best. Yes, they'll have those dips, but Shane Flanagan would be not naive enough to think that wouldn't happen, but it's certainly going in the right direction. Before we get into the 4 questions, the nickname, Gypsy. Something I never call you in public because obviously from where I'm from, it's highly offensive and probably not a word you'd want to say out loud too much. Has that ever happened to you when you've been on like a touring team? You've done a couple of World Cup challenges with the Dragons, obviously been there with New Zealand. People use it in and around you in a very different context. Has it ever been an issue?
Well, I think it's. I always adopted it as a term of endearment. The origins of it. Obviously, I lived in many houses, so I was a bit of a gypsy growing up, and in Australia, it doesn't have that same connotations that it does in the UK. I lived in, I think, maybe 16, maybe 20 odd houses before I was 12. So I was a gypsy, not in
you moved
moved around a lot, and that's where it comes from, and it makes sense a lot. But it wasn't until I went on some of those tours that I understand the not so friendly nature of what it can mean. And I was like, you go over there and you see the highways and there's all these gypsy camps, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what it looks like. And it's it's a term of endearment if you're from Australia and you haven't experienced what a true gypsy is. But yeah, it's and it's even glorified on TV, to be fair.
Well, I think they're moving. Well, no, society has moved towards the term traveller, as opposed to people don't throw it around in England as casually as what they do here. But it's don't be surprised to
and then south of France, I was around there, and there's a few of those characters, and it's not like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go catch up with my gypsy friend. Whereas people say that, it's like, if it's me, I'm like,
it'd be cool.
But no, I experienced it, so I don't, and I still, despite seeing it verbally, seeing it on TV, I'm like, oh, it doesn't have the same, like I've never had a bad experience. I've seen it, and that looks a bit strange, and you see this. So I can see that, and I'm grateful that I wasn't a pure gypsy in the UK, although I think I would have been able to survive. It doesn't look like a lifestyle choice you definitely want to do, but no judgment either.
Absolutely no judgment here on the buy round. We've got no game. 4 questions, each and every guest. Dream Spine 1679.
First one comes to mind is Darius Boyd, Jamie Sow, Ben Hornby, Nathan Feen. Just best played with in terms of everything. Obviously, our grand final winning side, good friends. Dream in terms of our era. And go Billy Slater, Benji Marshall at 6, Jonathan Thurston at 7, and Cameron Smith at 9.
Fair play. I like that. You've done two there.
Yeah.
Benji Marshall, good friend. How do you think? Sorry, just quickly on Benji as a player.
Oh, yeah, now he's not a media guy.
Did you ever think he'd go into coaching?
Yes.
Did you?
It's all he ever said.
Really?
I can do this better. McGregor's coaching him. I can do this better.
Really?
Yeah. He always said it. Always said he wanted to be a coach. It was just he was getting paid too much doing what you do to take a pay cut to be a coach and take on all that stress. But so full credit to him.
You've got to admire the fact that he's gone all in on this.
No, so it was always he loves it. Like he loves coaching. He loves it was always ambition. He might not have said it publicly, but honestly, full credit to him because arguably less stressful. No offense to you, James, doing what you do. Arguably, sometimes.
What, coaching less stressful?
No, I mean, no, coaching more stressful.
Oh yeah,
than Fox and those sort of things, and it's a decision that was made searching for something more, and I think that's what. But to say that was it a surprise? No, I knew he had that ambition and passion. No, it's not just an ambition; it's a passion thing. So he loves the game, and he loves the competitiveness, and he's a competitor, and that's sort of fix that you can once your body says you're too old. You can only really get through a level of engagement in professional sport, and that's why we, whether it's commentating on it or being involved in it some way, I think that's what's always part of us, and why it's such a big product and thing around the world, whether it's rugby league or sport in general. It's such an awesome industry to be surrounded in.
Well, he's a member of your Dream Spine, and interesting that he's had that ambition for a while. If football didn't exist, what do you think you would have done?
I'm in
Business
property-related things now. I think it would have been something to do with that. My dad was a brick cleaner, one of the greatest trades you actually could do with one here.
We're going for a retro look.
Sites. Yeah, I know. I suppose I get the industrial feel. So something to do with property. A lot of friends mine where they're some sort of property-related businesses. Something boring or exciting, depending on who you are, like that. Like I said, bad with my hands, so I wouldn't be a tradesman, but yeah.
Okay. The most interesting person you've met along the way?
You're pretty interesting.
Good.
You're probably up there, but it's probably people being said. Has anyone said to you before? I have to use people I know well enough as well, because I think you have people you meet and they might be lecturers or people that you meet and they come across, but until you actually get to know them, so you're pretty interesting. But I'd say Joel Thompson. He's super interesting.
Oh, had him on.
Did you? Was
yeah,
it interesting?
Very interesting. I met him. We crossed over at St Helens, and we'd obviously played against each other. Yeah. Got that just a character, a lot of madness.
Yeah.
I like people that skew towards the madness side of things.
So do I, and that's what makes me interested in you. No offense, in the skew to the madness, and Joel as well. I loved being around him. It's real. He's bipolar and that sort of thing. But that, nothing to be joking about. But that's so interesting.
Most people with that little bit of madness, they're very creative. Like they think about and they view the world differently, which makes them interesting. I've had like mental illness issues, but I don't look at that as like a positive. As a negative. Like I think it's actually helped me in a way. No, in fact, not even in a way. It has.
Yeah, it does. And there is my mum struggled with mental illness her whole life, and she's passed away now. But that interesting because of trying to figure out what it is. But I think there is a level of anxiety that we need to do what we do. So it is a sort of gift, and you don't want to start speak, but there is a level of anxiety you need to do to be able to prepare for things that you go through as a professional athlete. That's rugby league, whatever professional sport, and that's why I think there is a lot of that sort of involved in professional sport, because it is such highs and such lows, and I do miss that. I miss that highs and lows of rugby league that 9 to 5. Not that I'm 9 to 5, but that really regulates, and the up and down is human emotion. That's what goes with. But on the extreme scale, and why it's interesting is because it's just so infectious. Whether it's even when he was on the down and he'd tell you about it, he and I were very close and are very close. But yeah, it was this modern. I try and be temperate, and I am quite temperate most of the time. I'm pretty well measured, but it's boring. Like if I was, I'm pretty boring, but don't want to be in Joel's mind or your mind at different times. But being part of it and being able to experience it and ride them to a point. I used to love training with him, spending time with him, being hungover with him on the downs, and enjoying a beer with him on the way up. All that stuff is so interesting. And then how the other part of it spends so much time and the time that he spends on himself to make sure that he can function and get to the point and really work on himself. So he was super interesting. I love him to death, and such a really a good character who works freaking hard on himself. Like that's the piece that we sort of make fun of the ups and the downs.
Yeah.
But the stuff he does in between, and the stuff that we can help him with, or he helps himself with it, it's what keeps it interesting. And I think that's part of the spice of life. And that's the interesting people you meet. You don't know a lot about them, but people you know well yourself and that area of madness is creativity, and it's also what it's what makes a lot of us tick.
Pushes to the extremes as well. Pushes boundaries, things outside the box. Yeah, I like it. Finally, to wrap things up, a sliding doors moment that you think about.
Well, we're on there. I suppose it's rugby league related. It was 17 years old, and I was playing SG ball for the Dragons, and I wasn't under contract, and I think I had to trial for our Jersey Flag side. So I went to the trial for our Jersey Flag side. Played well, it was all good. But I was like, shit, what if I don't make the Jersey Flag side for the Dragons? So George Illawarra was super strong. Our SG ball team was not very good. We used to come last or second last. So I went and trialled for Manly as well. I made the Manly side as well. Made the Manly and the St. George side. And like I said, we trained in Wollongong. I lived in Oatley at the time, about an hour each way. I was like, what do I do here?
Ooh.
Manly offered me a contract. Dragons, nothing. I was no contract, no nothing. It was just, try your best. And it was money. And I was like, I think it was a few grand, but I was working in whatever. It was enough to go, we'll have a look at it. No guarantee at Dragons. I was 18 going into a team that had Brett Morris, Josh Morris, all these other players that were Steelers and a lot more built up. They'd had more professional training. We were pretty amateur. And that was a big decision to make. And I made it pretty much on my own. I was maybe living a little bit, I don't know if I was at home or not, living out of home. But made the decision. I think I would have spoken to my dad about it, and he just said, do whatever you think. Like, it's $3,000, whatever. It's not nothing, but it's not something. But the security of it, or you can have a crack. And I just...
So why did you choose the Dragons?
I played for St. George as a junior. I knew a few people. And that was the place I wanted to have a crack at it. That's where I was having a crack at it. The Manly, I think it was a 2-year deal, and it was a contract, and I could see that sort of thing. And it was, it was a big decision. And I actually ended up going down training, and I was pretty shit. Like didn't do a lot of weights. I was quite behind these Illawarra guys like Brett and Josh that were so much more ahead of their game than I was, and I had to start raw. And I think I was in and out of even the Jersey Flag side. for the start. I remember the first trial. It was like you had we had 3 teams. We had a massive squad. First team, second team, third team. I was in the third team. We had this guy over age. He was contracted, but he was on the way out. He was the captain. Everyone else got warmed up by the trainers. First 2 teams went out. We were on the third team of the SG Ball team and playing the third string, playing it. The people, most of those guys got cut essentially from the, and it wasn't until I went and actually played rugby league. They go, oh, okay. Despite the fact he's skinny and white and not that fast, he's got something. And I survived, and then ended up we won the Jersey Flag comp that year with all those players, and a lot of those guys went on to have really long careers, and a lot of the guys that I played under 20s with, we won that comp, and was a good learning curve for myself. That's my sliding doors moment. I could have gone to Manly.
Wow, didn't know that. That's interesting.
Didn't make news. Didn't even make the leader back in 2004.
All right. Well, Jason, great to sit and chat with you. Appreciate you coming on to the bar, and that was good stuff, mate. And wish you all the very best in all your different ventures.
Thanks, James. Has anyone been on twice? Yes,
we've had Shane Richardson on twice, Serraldo on twice.
Yeah, maybe I feel
Carney on twice.
Oh, yeah, okay. Those that are on the payroll. Oh, I'm just happy to turn up for free again at a time when I've got some relevant content for you. And really appreciate you having me on. It's good catching up despite professional endeavours, despite being friends, to be able to hang out and have a chat.
It's been good fun. It's been good fun. Have we got any protein shakes back there, Charlie, that we can give Jason? We got some beer. We got some
low carb.
No.
If there's that I'm shredding.
Yeah, shredding too much. Well, good luck on the beefing.
Thanks.
No, not beefing stage. Bulking stage. Yeah, beefing and bulking. You know what would be. You know how you could get back on as a recurring guest.
Yeah.
If you were to get
body
massive.
Transformation, all right.
Body transformation.
After this, I'm going to go and follow him around like Jeremy does.
Full head of hair, and absolutely jacked. Then we are getting you back on to find out your
content.
journey.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, Jace, take it easy, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it.